All right, thank you so much, Stephen Bide. Now, Chikobo lies within the confinements of KCCA as the governing authority of everything that happens there. Now, speaking of which, we're going to be looking at post-summit KCCA road works plans. And of course, there's so many questions. We saw the will and the commitment to get things done in real time. Is that going to be continuing, or is that going to be the new way of KCCA doing things? But before we go into that, the Lord Mayor did have a sitting with councillors yesterday, and they were having an assessment of the unused road funding. Take a look. It's okay, you can continue.
The Uganda government secured a $288 million loan, or about 1,084 trillion shillings, from the African Development Bank to pay for the rehabilitation of city roads under the Kampala City Roads and Rehabilitation Project. The city authorities worked about 30 city roads worth 69 kilometers. The roadworks cost slightly under 700 billion shillings, leaving a balance of about 350 billion shillings.
Our engineering estimate was in the range of 900, and the engineers, the contractors, all of them, when you sum them together, the bidders estimated about 200 billion. 700 billion, and therefore we save about 200 billion plus. So from that saving, we want to make sure that we utilize it for extra roads in the city.
Today, the matter pitted MPs and KCCA councillors on the City Roads Committee against one another, especially after it was suggested that more roads are worked on. The councillors failed to agree on which roads should be worked on in the 5 divisions.
We have 5 divisions. If we make a division, what kilometers we have in a particular, what kilometers we have in a particular division, I will be joking. Then the other factors, it will be the technical guidance, between an engineer.
If we are to share our resources in an equitable bearing, let us get a lump sum of the kilometers that are here and the kilometers that are here.
Then we come up with something that is on unequitable ground.
Nakawa East Member of Parliament, Ronald Balimwezo, who doubles as the Kampala City Roads Committee Chairperson, says this money should be used in repairs and rehabilitation of busy roads that connect to main roads. With no agreement in sight, it remains to be seen how the matter will be resolved. Becca Senyoga Makindye, NTV, tonight.
Well, we're glad that the horse's mouth does join us for this discussion. He's Honorable Member of Parliament Ronald Balimwezo, who's the chairperson equally for the Parliamentary Infrastructure Committee. He made some arguments, and we will see if they hold water continuously. We also do have Engineer David Luyimbazi, Deputy Executive Director with the KCCA also. There's been mention of the technical wing in there and its advisory on the matter. Well, we do have him in studio with us. Good morning and Happy New Year, Engineer.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for hosting.
All right. Honorable, good morning to you.
Good morning, viewers, and good morning to you.
Okay. So let's start with the engineer here. We have seen so much being put to beauty for us as a city because of the budget that came through the 2 summits that we closed recently. And we're asking for an understanding of what were the finances, how much was dispersed for this particular project, and a breakdown of the utilization.
Oh, thank you so much. You've ambushed me, but I'll try my best to see how I can elaborate. Well, we got a supplementary budget of about 60 billion, intended to help us prepare for the non-aligned movement summit and the group of 77 summits. Now, of that budget, about 30 billion was allocated towards roads and drainage works, and other related works towards public health and rescue of street children. Now, so out of the 60 billion, only 30 billion is being committed to roadworks. We've been able to rehabilitate about almost 20 to 25 kilometers of roads. We've been able to light up those roads, install street lighting. We've been able to install litter bins. We've been able to work on the drainages. With the previous flood hotspots at Soya and Odospa are no longer posing a problem, both to well-being of people and also the road infrastructure itself. So quite a lot of work has been done to transform the outlook of Makindye division. And of course, the key issue in there was the quick decision making that was being done to ensure that we meet the summit deadline. So, on average, so that is what I can talk about the budget that had been committed towards those summits.
Okay.
Preparation.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Engineer. Now, Honorable, in regards to what he has submitted, he has clearly painted us that there's a will and there's a way for these things to be done, even in the shortest time possible. And when monies are allocated, they definitely should be able to do the job. Now, looking at the road infrastructure improvement that we have significantly seen across the city, it begs the question post the summits, when we are back to normalcy, is that going to be the same for the authority? Is that going to be the same for the speed at which road infrastructure improvement is going to take?
I think this was a one-off. Like he has told you that he received a supplementary and only 30 billion was apportioned for road construction. But even the 30 billion, they did not receive it. They only received, I think, the PSST sent 20 billion. But KCCA had already committed the 30 billion. So it's not fully paid. The contractors have not been paid. And you know, we have a very, very big problem of domestic carriers. So contractors don't want to do work because they are not paid. And the interest that accrues is quite enormous in such projects. He is aware that today, UNRWA alone has a debt of 900 billion. And this every day accrues an interest of over 280 million every day. So you can see that because of lack of releases, we accrue an interest, and in the event we lose out. So we know that we are aware that NAM had been prepared before. We knew earlier that NAM was going to be done in Uganda. Therefore, we ought to have planned a little earlier than what we did. Believe me, we did cosmetic. We had no good plan for maintaining our roads, and therefore, our roads deteriorated at a faster rate. The only thing we have to do, we have, because majority of our roads have outlived their design life, we need a robust. We need to revamp the entire road network in Kampala particularly. That's the reason that you see that everywhere, now Kampala is like a construction site. Everywhere we are dealing with the pothole repairs, we are dealing with this and that, and giving to people who are even at times incompetent. I want to say this, you have shown us the engineering brigade, and in particular SFC. You know, to me, these people have limited experience in road maintenance and repairs. Therefore, we need, I think, to do a little much more in
by experience,
in planning.
You mean that you'd have wanted them to have worked on quite a number of roads? Is that the
I know them. I have taught majority of their engineers. I taught them in construction, building construction. So I know them. I know they are competent in buildings, but not roads.
All right.
And I haven't seen any of their road project before. But you give them to maintain the city, a dilapidated city? No.
Okay.
Engineer basically
we saw the political will, and we saw the collective will altogether in putting up the facelift for Kampala as a whole. And Ugandans, of course, were being given the argument that, look here, when visitors are coming home, you have to clean up your house, and it has to be looking nice and neat for your visitors. The visitors are gone, and now the Kampalans, your children, are still here, and they're still enjoying the not so good road infrastructure. It begs the question, what is the plan for a total rehabilitation of the road infrastructure in Kampala?
Okay, thank you so much. Again, of course, there are those worries, as also my colleague has mentioned, indicate this was a one-off. I want to assure you, this was not a one-off. This was also a break in the former mindset that nothing can be done out of City Hall. We were able to demonstrate that with resources, we can deliver. And we can deliver fast and good infrastructure. We can give a good account of what City Hall can do. what we've done now, we have what we call a post-NAM, post-G77 summit plan, which is intended to carry on what we've been doing. There are many unintended effects of actions that have been going on that cost government a lot of money. Why should people be settling in wetlands? Why should people be building over channels? This costs government a lot of money. Why should people be vandalizing assets government has installed? These street lights. So we are sensitizing the public. These are assets that are owned by the public. If you vandalize a street light, it is your sister, your brother who's going to be mugged the next day, raped or something, because it's a dark spot. These trees we're planting and people are trying to pull them up and hurt them, and some of them are whistling. These are your trees, not KCCA's trees. These are assets of the public. Now, so that with the limited resources we have, we don't spend that money coming back to fix what has been destroyed unintendedly, but we spread the message all over the city.
Okay, so let's talk about things that are not destroyed intendedly. Let's talk about things that are destroyed by nature and they have overrun their lifespan. Let's talk about those things. What's the plan?
Now, the plan is this. Right now, to upgrade or rehabilitate a road, you need about 6 billion shillings as a minimum before you think of rehabilitating, reconstructing or upgrading a road. Now we've come up with an intermediate measure. Now we can upgrade or rehabilitate a road using what we call a light rehabilitation and do it for 1.2 billion. So the cost, the barrier to intervening now has been lowered. With the 6 billion intervention, you get a 15 to 20 year life out of the road you build. With the 1.2, you get a 6 to 7 year life. But again, you're able to have a usable road. Now, we have all these funding that is coming lined up. We have Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area funding, which is 650 million. By the time we tender and work is done, it is 2-3 years down the road. Should the public endure that pain? We're saying no. Let's intervene now. Let people have smoother roads, even if the life is limited. We have financing from the UK government to rehabilitate roads in the city centre, the old paved roads. Are we going to wait for the 4 years when that money comes as people endure bad roads? I think the patience of people has run out. So we are saying, with the limited funding, let's implement lower cost intervention that provides smoother roads in the interim as we wait for the longer term funding. So because on average we get about 40 to 50 billion every financial year towards road development. If we commit like 40 billion for light rehabilitation, we can redeem like 35 kilometers. That's a lot of kilometers. And by so doing, the outlook of the city will change. We don't have to provide street lights everywhere, but let's first provide the smoother roads. Then with the time and intentionally, we provide the street lights, we provide the bins, and also sensitize the public to protect and use properly what we've provided.
Okay, some of members of the public are of the question, these rehabilitation works, why can't they wait until evening? Honestly, they do disrupt traffic, hence disrupting business, hence disrupting the economy of the country. And so, yeah, now that the NAMs are finished, because there we could give you the excuse that you're working overtime to be able to work within a small time frame that you were given. But now post that, can we have those works be transferred to night duty?
Obviously, our plan was to work during the night, but during the NAM period, we were faced with we were working in the heat of the rainy season, the El Nino season. These were abnormal rains. So the limited opportunities for working meant that even if it was daytime, we had to work. But I'll give you an example of Seziwa Road. We built it entirely at night. We revamped it entirely at night. And we have these ongoing work which are financed by the African Development Bank. Again, night working is their primary base of working. It has not been going on, but we're going to flip that. We're going to ensure that we supervise these works at night to minimize daytime disruption. We also understand no city in the world do people come to go to work during the day and construction activity also goes on during the day. So we're going to change that and make sure that we minimize the interference with economic activity.
Honorable Balimwezo, you're penning down comments and reactions from
maybe let me paint Kampala roads to Ugandans. Kampala has 2,110 kilometers of road network. Only 654 is paved, and 1,456 is unpaved. They're either gravel roads or earth roads.
Kataka,
completely taka earth roads. And we only receive 10 billion under the road fund for road maintenance of all city roads. 70% of the paved roads have outlived the design life. They are totally with the potholes. You patch here, a pothole grows here. And therefore, we need to have a work plan to make sure that we revamp and do roads. I told you earlier that we have programs that have been put in place, like the Kampala City Roads Rehabilitation Project that he has talked about, which is basically aimed at doing 60. It was earlier aimed at doing 69.7 kilometers. Now that we have done some saving of about 300 billion, we think that we are going to do more additional roads. But we also have the Greater Kampala that he spoke about. The challenge is that we may have roads that we are going to pave, but how about the maintenance? In this quarter, Kampala has received 0. And that's the reason that when he was talking about the 30 billion from the supplementary, I told him it was one-off. Let him tell us that he has received this quarter money for road maintenance anyway. So the PSST has not received any money. To us, even UNRWA. So where are we going? We must have a road maintenance culture. We are paving the many roads that we are paving. We should have a plan of maintaining them. Otherwise, they will all deteriorate at the same time. Secondly, he has talked about these people that have basically constructed and blocked waterways, the wetlands. These must be basically, particularly these big people. We have, I'm telling you, we have the Sudil. Sudil has encroached on over 90% of Chinawataka wetland. So water can no longer cross to Lake Victoria. This ecosystem has been destroyed. And that's the reason that whenever it rains, roads up around the Chambogo all are submerged in water. And the greatest enemy of a road is water. Make sure that the water runs off the road and the road will stay longer. So we are doing a number of roads, but they will deteriorate as fast as possible. The solid management systems of KCCA are not as good as they should be. And that goes to Parliament to make sure that we do appropriate enough funds for KCCA to make sure that they have a good solid waste management system. Because whenever it rains, solid waste blocks drains and we have flooding. We lose over $100 million whenever it rains. Yeah.
So that's a good argument that you are presenting, but of course we have to work within the confinements of funding that we have presently, and with the solutions that have been provided by the executive here, you get to see about 20 billion that has been given to you in this Q3 funding finances that have been released. What are the priorities for KCCA as we conclude?
The priority there for the release for the next quarter is, as you're aware, there is a notice to suspend financing for the African Development Bank project.
Oh, okay.
Now that notice required us to commit money towards involuntary land acquisition.
Yeah, let's first take a quick break and then we can come back and have a better analysis of that. The Executive Director KCCA, Engineer David Luyimbazi, was still giving us a breakdown of the 4.9 trillion Ugandan shillings that has been released for Q3. There's a 20 billion there that has been earmarked for KCCA, and he was bringing us the priorities for KCCA regarding these funds.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, as we're closing, of course, we've received a quarterly release of 20 billion for the next quarter from Ministry of Finance. However, at the same time, we had a notice to suspend funding for the $288 million of African development funding due to government not providing the required counterpart funding for compensation and involuntary land resettlement. So the decision was made that of the 20 billion, 15 billion goes towards meeting the African Development Bank conditions. And so we're going to remain about 5 billion for development, and that's the money we're going to try to work with to see what we can do within the 5 billion to redeem the city infrastructure.
Within the, the 3 months. Honorable, you were talking about a law that could actually save the day.
Yeah, we have two relevant and good laws that basically could save us. We have the Road Fund Act. You know, the Road Fund Act was put in place and it created a second generation fund, which fund is ring fenced. We get money from fines, traffic fines. We get money from fuel levies, and all this, including the money that is supposed to be appropriated by Parliament into this fund. And this fund is ring fenced. The money is supposed to be used for road maintenance, like it is in Kenya, like it is in Rwanda. But unfortunately, last year we got into that fund over 1.3 billion, trillion. But government only gave Uganda Road Fund a mere 401 billion out of 1.3 trillion. So I'm going to courts of law on that. We must operationalize the road fund as is in the act. We also have another law which is very, very good. And this is one of the laws that should basically help Ugandans work on such challenges. We have the Local Government Rating Act that created a fund called the Property Rates Fund. This is also ring-fenced. Monies that are got from houses that are rented out are supposed to go back in that area and do the following. According to the acts, work on the roads in the communities, work on the drains, work on garbage management, but they pick that money and take it to the consolidated fund, and it is nowhere to be seen. So as a lawmaker and as a leader who is supposed to benefit from those funds, I'm going to courts of law, and I've gotten many members of Parliament who are basically seconding me on that, including other leaders in the districts. We have brought this on the floor of Parliament. They had promised to make sure that they will professionalize the road fund by this year, in vain. So the way to go is to go to courts of law, and I call upon Ugandans to make sure that they support us in courts of law on this matter.
You did sit in the consultative meeting yesterday.
Yes.
We want to find out from you what were the significant minutes from that meeting.
Number one, we resolved that, because each division sent in roads, priority roads, to be worked on. Some of the roads perhaps could not qualify. And two, divisions sent in quite many roads in terms of kilometers. So we are saying the money is not enough. Can we resize? Can we pull out some of the roads that are more that are of priority nature? For example, we have to look at the roads that are already worked on. Can we work on those diversions that may destroy
the feeders?
The feeders that may destroy this other road if they are not worked on, because you're working on the flow of traffic. How about if you are now diverting to a road that is dilapidated? Don't you think that it will have a constriction somehow, somewhere? So we are targeting those roads first. But some of the divisions had submitted roads that are basically off those roads, and we are saying now, can the division sit and work out ways of coming out with a list that is within the funds that are available? Yes, that's what we
Let me elaborate a little bit more about what Honorable is talking about. You have here a main paved road, and you have connecting roads that are gravel.
Okay.
Whenever trains, they deposit all gravel and garbage onto
the paved road.
Now you're saying let's tarmac those connectors so that you have a clean environment moving.
That's it.
So that rather than now looking for a new road, which is connected by gravel feeders, let's first work on the feeders, like Salama Road and Lukuli Road. These Salama Road is going to be upgraded, so we should work on the connectors. Even locally road, let's make sure the connectors that are depositing debris and garbage onto the road are worked on, and you have a clean semblance of a good city.
Okay.
Secondly, because there is limited compensation, we are also talking about the width of the road. Some of them had submitted roads of 3 meters, and yet the requirement is a little much bigger. So we don't have funds for compensation on that. We're saying, can you give us wide roads, particularly those that are basically going to be reconstructed, because one that is going to be reconstructed has already the width.
Yeah.
So we need little compensation on that. So those were the resolutions.
Okay.
That and we resized and submitted to the Lord Mayor for consideration in SEC.
But the commitment is that for every one of the 5 divisions, there will be work that will be ongoing.
At least not less than 7 kilometers.
Okay.
Yes, according to the available funds. And you can assert.
Engineer is grinning about that statement, which is it sounds like there's
but we also thought it wise. Thought it wise to at least give Central Division a little more roads, because Central Division is much more dilapidated. Roads in Central Division are more dilapidated, and they have the biggest mileage of tarmac roads.
Okay, all right. Your additional sense?
Okay, the reason I was smiling was, yes, submissions were made for roads to be reconstructed, roads to be upgraded. But the reason we're in the situation where funding has been suspended is because we introduced many roads that require to be upgraded. These are gravel roads. So you find a road that is 4 meters wide. When you upgrade it, you need a corridor of 9 to 10 meters. So you need to you're affecting people, you're affecting ecosystems. So you need an environmental and social impact assessment done. So now we must be mindful that the credit is expiring in 2024. So we have a limited, 2025. 2025. So the window we have is about 2 years. So you don't want to go into the same situation. So we would prefer to reconstruct roads that have failed, because the corridor is already acquired. The time required to get to completion is shorter. So that is the recommendation we're going to make. Let's focus on roads that require reconstruction or rehabilitation rather than new upgrades. That's the only way we can be able to meet the time deadline for consuming the money, and also remove the challenges we are facing right now, funding being suspended.
Okay. Focusing back on the summits, having collective work done, what were some of the benefits that were gotten, through that collaborative work with the different entities that were responsible for making sure that as a country we are ready for NAM? And how do we pick on some of those habits to actually maintain them through ensuring that the Ugandans actually get value out of their taxes and they get to enjoy what is known to them as service delivery, effective service delivery? Engineer.
It's too early. Okay, I can pick on some lessons. Okay, first and foremost, we were working towards a common objective. There was one common objective. We had a very hard time deadline to deliver the works. Now we also had to make sure that you pick performing individuals to deliver. It didn't matter whether you needed to go up to the lowest person in the hierarchy to make sure you deliver. So with commonality of purpose, there was no ranking in work. It was about pursuing the goal, and of course, it broke down the barriers that existed before, and it also showed that with the commitment that resources can be made available, City Hall can function. In terms of now, at the end of the day, after the attainment of the objectives, we were able to deliver the infrastructure within the time, people have been able to see the rewards that come with the delivery. And also, there's also been a change in public perception that, yes, the city needed to look good before the visitors came in. That's why I don't want to talk about when you saw there was this Matoke exhibition, it didn't pick up traction, because the intention was, what image are we giving out to our visitors, not the disruptive political nuances that come with the day.
Okay, all right. I'll give the final word to Honorable.
Yeah,
in regards to what he has mentioned, how do we pick up on some of these traits and continue them on, given the fact that some systems really can do away with some bureaucracy to get the work done? Should we be setting deadlines for everything?
Yes, we must do planning for starters, because this caused us problems. You know, we are supposed to plan for the people of Kampala. If you see what happened in Makindye, you could perhaps cry tears, because people that were working on the roadsides were evicted in no time. And remember that we have been in festival period. Students are going back to school. So these vendors that we are operating along roads needed to be planned for. Good enough that we have a plan in the ADB to do roadside markets. Can we plan for them and put them in the roadside markets? Because we were supposed to benefit from the MICE meetings, incentives, and conferences and events, that industry. They needed to benefit, but they didn't benefit anyway.
Okay.
But I want to appreciate KCCA for at least making some good strides.
All right.
By having it trickle down.
And this is what we're talking about, that
having it trickle down.
At least we can see appreciation and give
I do appreciate
and credit where
on one
it's
part.
due. And
But
I
the
also
other
want
part
to
is
appreciate
that,
you for having been here with us and giving us your 2 cents on the matter. And I pray on behalf of Kampalans and all of Uganda that what we saw happen within the shortest time period can actually be translated into the planned periods of the different infrastructure developments to enhance the growth and development of our country. That brings us to the end of Morning at NTV Wednesday's edition. Thank you so much for having been with us. Good day.